Great. So I'd like to welcome you to the RetailOps Wiser webinar, leveraging real-time data to outsell your competition. Today we'll be hearing from two leaders in retail data management. They'll be sharing ways to leverage your most valuable asset online, your data. Let me introduce you to our experts. First, we'll hear from Sam Moses, co-founder and CEO of RetailOps. Looking back, Sam has held key roles at e-commerce businesses including the likes of Red Envelope, New Media Merchants, and Dr. J's, and intimately understands the processes incumbent to multi-channel retail. Sam led the charge in building an in-house end-to-end solution as head of technology for a growing e-commerce retail business, annual revenue of $500,000 in 2002, and grew that to 90 plus million in 2010. With nearly 2 decades in retail leadership roles, Sam has seen many things done right and many things done wrong in rapid growth retail businesses. On the Wiser front, we'll hear from Luke Lin. As Wiser's head of pricing and analytics, Luke pioneers new innovations in the realm of e-commerce pricing, intelligence, and automation. He is a former pricing leader at GE Intelligent Platforms with several years of experience in software automation and intelligence, and a graduate of GE's prestigious financial management program with deep experience in developing automated solutions for complex organizations. He graduated from University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and is an avid college basketball fan. To set the stage for our speakers, let's talk about how data is changing retail. And since we're talking retail, we have to start with the customer, who of course has access to their own set of real-time data from their phone, laptop, tablet, and desktop 24/7. The new reality is that customers can buy anywhere, anytime, and unless retailers want to get left behind, they must ensure that their product is next to the buy button when the customer is ready to pull the trigger. To do this effectively, leveraging real-time data is your best friend. And fortunately, our friends at Wiser are experts in leveraging big data to help win that buy button by reacting to the marketplace data from inventory to price in order to stay ahead. But before we jump off the blocks and with real-time data strategies, let's hand the mic over to Sam Moses to understand what it takes to capture great data in your own business and how that can be leveraged to win your marketplace battles.
Cool. Thanks for the introduction, Conrad. You're exactly right. Getting data correct is the first step and is a major hurdle for e-commerce retailers. As you mentioned, in e-commerce, data is king. Without great and timely data, you operate at a severe disadvantage in today's e-commerce marketplaces. When we think about data at retail ops, we distinguish between two core types of data: data that's coming in and data that's going out. Both are critically important to be updated in real time, though for slightly different reasons. On data coming in, you need to ensure your employees are being as efficient as possible to provide the best customer experience that you can. Incoming data includes things like product descriptions, photos, receiving records, customer orders, returns processing, things like that. It's critical that these nuts and bolts pieces of information are easily accessible and remove duplicate entry to get your products up for sale as quickly as possible and to ship customer orders without delay. On the other hand, with data going out, you have to ensure your data is right and actionable. Outgoing data includes things like purchase orders to vendors, product catalog and inventory level updates to sales channels, customer order shipment tracking information to customers, and the like. It is imperative to convey this information as quickly and accurately as possible for fairly obvious reasons, such as to be seen in your sales channels and win customers, and keep from overselling your inventory and replenish your inventory as needed from your vendors. Regardless of the type of data that you're working with, we feel there are three core traits that make data great data. It's got to be trustworthy, meaningful, and agile. Let's focus on the biggest challenge that many retailers face today: product data. So oftentimes, e-commerce retailers source data from many different places. A manufacturer may provide a brand like Nike, a product name like Lunar Fly, a manufacturer part number like 644395, a color name like Fijian Sunset, a minimum advertised price, and a UPC. A buyer in your organization may create a purchase order noting the quantity and enter additional data like a normalized color red, a category like men's sneakers, or season fall 2015. A receiver in your organization may add to this, things like quantity received, location, country of origin if they had it on the tag or something along those lines. Product manager is going to fill in more details, product story and description, product dimensions and specific highlights about a thing. And a photographer is going to load up images as well. And various pieces of information are going to filter into your product data. Each of these streams of information must be carefully orchestrated, as you know, to arrive at a complete product that's ready for sale as quickly as possible. As your business grows, more streams of data are necessarily added to the mix as drop shippers, 3PL facilities potentially, and so on. As an e-commerce business, it is incumbent on you to ensure that all 7,000 streams flow into a single river, as it does in the Mississippi. Is that easy? No way. Not a chance. And that's why few retailers are able to leverage their data to improve their business. The ones that do are undoubtedly getting ahead and outselling their competition. So what can you do as a retailer to not get left behind? You make sure that your data is great data. The 3 traits that we feel that exist for great data are that it's trustworthy, it's meaningful, and it's agile. So we found the key to getting into the game and staying ahead of the competition is to harbor not just this great data, but to get there. And you get there by providing great operational processes that breed great data. Once you've established a sound process to collect the information in your organization, then you get data you trust consistently. Fortunately, in retail business, there aren't as many moving parts as there are in the Mississippi system of feeder streams. So you simply need to focus on the flow of information from vendors through your organization to the end channel and ultimately your customer. The processes must provide the right information to the right user at the right time in your organization to be efficient and accurate. This, in our opinion, entails a single system of record with appropriate views into your data for the appropriate user. A few questions to ask yourself about processes that you have in place today to ensure that they're healthy and efficient are things like, how many systems does any single user in your company have to log into for their job function? How much time does it take to train new employees up on systems to do their job? Do you know the value of your inventory on hand right now? And things like, how many products do you have in your warehouse right now that are not for sale? Once you have data that you can trust, then you're ready to accelerate into your sales channels. Ultimately, you're forced to be competitive across all channels, whether you like it or not. If you're in the marketplaces, it doesn't really matter. You're still doing e-commerce, and you're going to be compared against people that are. So customers demand accurate inventory, good seller ratings and reviews, accurate product data to make informed purchases, and quick fulfillment. So with good processes that you trust in place, you open the door to reaching more customers and providing those customers the best possible experience across multiple sales channels as you scale up your business. So that said, we've got to think about data not just that flows through your process, but is also meaningful. Meaningful data is atomic and correct at its root. For example, when making a decision to change the price of a product, you need to know first and foremost what's your cost of that product. The cost should be meaningful by being granular. For example, I bought 10 units of widget X at $5 2 months ago, and 20 units of widget X at $4.50 last week. That's granular data. It's also got to be accurate. So the cost can't just be raw by itself. That cost should include the $1.25 per unit of inbound freight costs that you incurred as well. If instead you're working with average costs and trying to manually include inbound freight to this cost data, you will not be able to act on your decisions quickly and confidently to stay ahead of the competitive curve. Meaningful data is granular in nature and accurate to be actionable. With trusted and meaningful data, the last piece of the pie to ensure your data is agile. Let's return for a moment to our product data example. You have processes in place that you trust, so your data is right. You've got meaningful data stored in granular fashion, things like product title in this example, color, size, type, brand, etc. Now you can leverage that data to dynamically change what your data looks like in the various sales channels. So with Agile Data and tools to leverage it, you can present a different face to your branded direct website versus Amazon versus eBay versus other channels. Different customers have different expectations, and each sales channel comes with its own demands. Your data has to be agile in order to take advantage of that. So when your data is stored granularly and accurately, you open your business up to true agility. And having stored the data using processes that you trust and leveraging meaningful information stored in an agile fashion, you will have reached your e-commerce data nirvana to be quick to leverage changes to your customers that they are demanding, and to reach new customers you may not have thought were reachable before. The central tenets of great data that you should always keep in mind in your organization are to keep the data factual, keep your data granular, and to get your data working for you instead of against you.
Great, thank you, Sam. Now I'm going to pass the microphone over to Luke Lin from Wiser, and we'll make the transition from your own business data onto how to scale with big data across marketplaces. Luke.
Thanks, Conrad. Great to talk to everybody today. My name is Luke Lin, and thank you for the quick, the good primer into the types of data, how to keep it granular and factual. We almost kind of think of it as keeping a tight run ship is kind of like the conditioning before a big race. And now that we're well conditioned, we're ready to run our race. And that kind of brings us to, we've got a lot of data and we've cleaned it up internally. How do we use real-time data? And really the first question that we want to ask ourselves is, there's a lot of data we're keeping internally, but what other data do we need to start paying attention to in order to best utilize the data around us and make really good, actionable decisions that'll impact our bottom line? And we've broken it down into 4 different categories here that can really help you move the needle. The first of which is inventory. Not just your own inventory and the granular level of product attribute data about your own, but also about your competitors. What are you carrying in your inventory that your competitors aren't? A lot of what influences a customer's conversion is the assortment that you carry on your web store. If you have a very limited assortment, it actually may impede your ability to really scale and get a lot of the customers you're looking for. So really a good question to ask is, what do I carry that my competitors don't? And the inverse of that, what might my competitors be offering that I'm missing? What am I leaving on the table? And looking at the real-time inventory data. The second piece is pricing. Where am I positioned in the market? Now that I know what I'm priced at and I know what my inventory is, what about my competitors? What about the other seller that's selling that exact same widget as I am, but is 5% cheaper than I am? Should I start paying attention and monitoring those people? And how might the pricing of my competitors be influencing my sales trajectory? Which kind of leads us into our last 2 pieces of data, which is sales and web traffic. And these are very transactionally oriented pieces of real-time data that can really open the doors with what you can do in terms of your pricing and assortment strategy. And that's really looking at sales velocity as granular as the transaction level, and that comes in real time, and also web traffic. Which customers are visiting? Are you getting first-time customers or returning ones? What type of referring URL may they be coming from? Are they coming from Amazon or Google, or do they come straight to your website? Or if you're if you're selling, how many people are visiting, and how many people can actually convert into a sale? And being able to track all of that web traffic data and integrate it with your pricing, your velocity, and your inventory, that's really where you see the winners kind of emerging in this race. So if we go to the next slide, we can actually look at the why of it, right? Now that we have a good idea of the what are the things that we're looking at, why is this important? And how does this impact my pricing strategy and ultimately my bottom line? If you kind of look at it's almost kind of a question of new age and old age. If you look at the old age world of retail and commerce, price changes were difficult. They were onerous because you had to go and print labels and you had to get workforces to go throughout thousands of stores in order to execute a price change. Now price changes are as easy as a click of a button, and in most cases you don't even have to click buttons anymore. Automated engines on marketplaces like Amazon can actually change prices every 10 minutes, which helps Amazon stay optimized on their price prices and stay competitive in a very fast-moving marketplace. Other large marketplaces like Best Buy and Walmart have also started implementing more and more frequent price changes, up to 50,000 times a month. If you as a retailer aren't really capitalizing on this trend of keeping your pricing up to date, it does make it harder to compete against the giants such as Amazon and Best Buy, who may be capitalizing on certain things like time of day with more frequent price changes. So now that we know the what and the why, we can take a look at the next slide. And which is, we know how, we know why, what do we do with it? How do we capitalize on this data? We're convinced that we definitely need to up our game when it comes to our benchmarking and our repricing. What do we do? And what's going to move the needle? Two great examples here are real-time competitive benchmarking. When you look at once you start matching your products to your competitors and you know what they're priced at, you also understand, hey, these guys might be changing their prices as frequently as every 10 minutes, or maybe every day, maybe every week. There's a lot of products, there's a lot of competitors out there. How do you stay on top of it? And that's where real-time competitive benchmarking with smart alerts can really help you change the game. And that's kind of, imagine if you had an alert that told you, hey, your top competitor just undercut you on price across these 50 key products. Allows you to take quick action and position yourself right back against a certain competitor that may be trying to steal your customers away or try to take some of your sales velocity. The other side of the coin is more automated in nature, and that's really automated repricing. And that's kind of what we think of as dynamic pricing. Certain tactics can include maybe you raise your prices when a key competitor runs out of stock. Classic economic supply and demand tell us that if you're the only supplier and demand stays constant, you do have more pricing power. Other things are definitely being able to integrate other pieces of real-time data, such as sales or traffic or competitive price information, into a dynamic pricing strategy that continuously optimizes you for your business goals. And so imagine this moving target where the marketplace is constantly shifting. Being able to automate repricing to kind of stay in that sweet spot, it really helps you as a retailer not worry about price as a barrier to growth, but really as an enabler to help you guys focus on the things that can really help you grow your business in other facets. So if we go ahead and move on to the next slide, we have some use cases, right? So a lot of this, it sounds like great talk. It sounds like, oh yeah, that would be really fantastic. But what does this mean? How does this apply to me? So Wiser actually, not long ago, we have a case study with 1000bulbs.com. They're a very popular website that sells all sorts of different light bulbs. And what Wiser did is we partnered with them using our dynamic pricing algorithm that pretty much we pulled in real-time data. This is, if you imagine, all of those facets, right? Your inventory, competition, your web traffic, your sales velocity, all of those factors. And what we did is we helped them optimize their pricing for a lift in sales velocity. And pretty much the way it worked was we found those sweet spots where we could actually gain a lot more sales by lowering price. And then the opportunities where you didn't get a slowdown in sales velocity by increasing price. By finding those sweet spots and using the real-time data to continuously optimize, over a 3-month period, we found a 10% lift in revenue dollars and a 4% lift in profit dollars. Clearly, this was a huge win for them in their business and something where they've taken this and are rolling it out to more product lines. In our second case study, we actually have another fantastic example of a slightly different way of applying real-time data, and that's Moolah. For those of you that aren't familiar, Moolah is a daily deal site that they offer lots of new products at a very good price point. You're kind of like it's a great deal for you. Clearly for them, knowing competitor prices is very crucial to make sure that they are offering a great deal on the web. So what Wiser did is we worked hand in hand. We partnered with the Moolah team to help them do unique product matching. And we use a lot of proprietary matching algorithms. If you kind of think about that first piece of inventory, being able to take your inventory and matching it to your competitors, let's say that you've done all the legwork and you have fantastic, very clean data about your brands and your specs, but your competitors may not. Your competitors may not have that level of granular data. How do you match your, red dress to your competitor's red dress? And that's where these matching algorithms kind of come into play, and the ability to use very advanced matching technologies to help you find what is the exact match on a competitor, or what might be a similar match, so that you can do price comparisons and start optimizing yourself, whether it's for pricing or your positioning based off of that. This type of on-demand competitive intelligence enables Moolah to be able to feed their daily deals and be able to evaluate whether or not they were actually offering good deals for their daily sales. So if we move on to the next slide, we really have the key takeaways here, right? And that's, to bring it all back together, it's all about having the right product, the right time, and the right price. And the enabling factor there is data. If we kind of take a look at everything holistically, it starts with your own data. Running a tight ship and doing that conditioning before you start running the race, making sure that you have good controls and you have good processes, so that you have clear line of sight to the types of products you have and how much of them you do have. Once you've done that conditioning, you start running the race, you want to make sure that you have effective use of that data. You're collecting the right competitive or external data sources and leveraging it in a way, always keeping your eye on the prize. Focus on where you have high margin opportunities, or where can you sell more, where the opportunities lie, and really finding the low-hanging fruit, so that your pricing strategies or your marketing, your merchandising strategies are all well informed and data driven. So with that, I guess what we can do is kind of open up the floor for any questions.
Cool, thank you, Luke. This is Conrad. I'll be taking back the microphone here. And I'd like to open up the floor to any questions. If you use your go-to webinar tool in the chat box, you can go ahead and begin asking questions there. I do have a couple questions already in. The first is from Gilmar, and it's to the webinar team. And so I'll direct this at Luke. How do I get real-time data on things like private label products?
Yeah, absolutely. Private label products are actually a very interesting use case, particularly when you're talking about real-time competitive pricing. The best way to look at your private label products is, once again, you start with your own, and you have to have a very clear understanding of the attributes that you have on hand. A great example is maybe you're selling laptops. Knowing the full specs of those laptops, down to the processing speed, down to the type of memory, the screen size. And once you know all those attributes, you can actually leverage a type of matching algorithm that does it based off of product attributes, almost what's commonly referred to as fuzzy matching. And with that, on private label products, what you do is you look at your attributes compared to your competitor attributes, and you say, okay, I don't have a clear identifying UPC or a single identifier, but what I can do is use my attributes and match against the other products. So now I have my private label products, and based off the fact that it's a 13-inch laptop with an i7 processor, I can match that to another 13-inch laptop with an i7 processor. And by leveraging that type of matching algorithm, it kind of opens the envelope in terms of what you can do when it comes to private label product matching.
Cool. Great. Thank you, Luke. I have one from Justin. It's to the retail ops team. How do customers get to good data from where they are today?
That's a really good question. Probably the single biggest challenge that retailers do have is, getting good data to begin with. A lot of what we focus on in kind of educating people is the process. You want to do that stuff as efficiently as possible. You can imagine, if you have a warehouse full of product, you don't necessarily want to go back through that product and try to collect additional information about those items. That's physically a really demanding project to do. Instead, we really focus on the process of collecting that data in line with whenever you're doing the physical act of receiving and things of that nature. So really looking at it as a process in your organization to record the information as efficiently as possible is the core way that you're going to get to good data systematically. And then a lot of times, the challenge then is, how do I record this information, or where do I put it in my organization with the various software systems that I've got in place? So evaluating and looking at the systems to ensure that they're going to meet your needs of the process that you've got in place or that you would like to see in your organization is secondary. But again, it's get the right process in place for your business. And then once you've got that process in mind, then it's finding a system to effectively and efficiently record that information.
Cool. Thank you, Sam. Another question for the Wiser team. This one's from Henry. Can Wiser speed up the process of collecting good data through scraping competitors' sites?
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about the ways that you can collect competitive data, in the old world, you would leverage things like secret shoppers and things like that. Ways you can do it now is there's actually two ways to do it. You can actually set up a manual team to go out and look at these websites and pull down those prices. As you can imagine, a manual process like that is very time and labor intensive. Something that Wiser offers is a data extraction model that actually automates the entire process and can actually refresh our competitor prices, typically maybe on a daily basis, but can even go with multiple times within a day if needed.
Henry's active here. He's adding to that question, not just prices, but titles and manufacturing part numbers, colors, descriptions.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about the way that you can extract that type of information, anything that is available on a website you can pull down. So you could actually go in and pull in the titles, the manufacturing part numbers, and even things like reviews, right? So if you're interested in knowing where's the review or the product or the position on a product page that something is on, you do have the ability to kind of pull down all of that information. And if you kind of think back to leveraging inventory real-time data, that's kind of the basis of what you can do there. Understanding what are the titles, what are the brands, what are the models that my competitors are carrying that I might not be carrying. And let me go ahead and do a gap and overlap analysis to understand where am I positioned well and where may I want to look to expand my assortment.
Awesome. Thank you, Luke. So with that, I believe we're wrapping up the last questions we have on the table. I'm going to move to the next slide here and give you contact information to reach out to either team. And with that, I'm going to close out. I appreciate you all for attending and have a wonderful Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.